Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vaga Muradian here at the Dubai International Air Chiefs Conference in Dubai. Our coverage here and at the Dubai Air Show is sponsored by FLIR Systems, and we're joined and honored to have with us Staff Major General Abdullah Al Hashmi, who is the Undersecretary for Support Services for UAE military. Sir, thanks very much. We're honored to have you.
My pleasure, thank you.
I want to start off, this conference has been a priority for the UAE for many years, but also growing the Dubai Air Show. Talk to us a little bit about how important this conference is, but as well as why the Air Show is such an important part of the UAE's strategy.
Well, first of all, I will talk about this conference. Air Chief conferences are held all over the world, and I've been to, I should say, many, not few, all over the world, like I said, from Australia to Malaysia, US, UK. The good thing about the Dubai Air Show, why it's unique, we have people from all over the world. We have people from New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, Korea, Japan, name it, Thailand, Middle East, Europe, all the way to the United States, and then we go to South America, Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico. So we have like about 30 to 40 air chiefs in one room. And the discussion of this conference is basically has helped us in the past 16 years into building our Air Force and making friendships and again, learning about the future. The Air Chief Conference always talks about what is next and how can we improve how to fight the target. Because we don't fight enemies. Air chiefs or Air Force always fights targets.
Spoken like a fighter pilot.
Well, that's it. As like you heard in the morning, we said you need to be fast, you need to have oxygen, and you need speed or that data. So basically, it is always the same phenomena when it comes to flying an Air Force, because the Air Force is really pilot and engineer. So this Air Chief Conference brings the chiefs together and brings the companies as well together, where they try to find a solution. And we look at the threats we have and how can we defeat it. So those threats are targets.
Let me take you to a question of operational experience. The UAE military very much was focused on a defensive mission, but over the last decade, that's expanded, whether or not it was in Afghanistan for operational lessons learned, whether that was in Libya, whether it's been over Iraq and Syria, and also now in Yemen. Talk to us a little bit about some of those operational lessons learned and how they're shaping your operational, your processes, your thinking, as well as your modernization agenda.
Well, when we, first of all, try to build our Air Force, we built it based on threats and scenarios. So the UAE Air Force really has been participating in peacekeeping since the 70s, okay? And we have always been around with the United Nations wherever it's needed to be, and we've always been in the peacekeeping missions. And also, wherever you just the names of the countries you mentioned, we've been there with the international community, trying to support and be partners. And we fight in the same bunkers with the international communities. Today, when you talk about Yemen, Yemen is a different story. The threat came to us, and I think we were forced to engage in Yemen to defend our big sister Saudi Arabia, and try to restore prosperity and peace in that country, where it is partially GCC country. And we think of Yemen as another sister country. And actually the plan was for Yemen to become one of the GCC countries. So when the Houthis and the Iranians tried to get involved over there, we were forced to go ahead and defend our strategic border, we could say.
What about the broader operational lessons, and how is that shaping your modernization and operational thinking? Because you guys have amassed quite a bit of operational lessons learned over the past decade.
Like I said, sir, I mean, we look at the threats, the changes of the scenarios for the future. And based on that, we try, right now we are going into capability building period. We're trying to look at the need of the forces, okay, from the Air Force, Navy, Land Force, and Presidential Guard, whatever we need for us to look at the next 20 or 30 years, or maybe 50 years, okay? So based on that, we are trying to reform our armed forces, and that goes with equipment, training, education, all aspects. And I think UAE is really has got its own policy in trying to stand for itself and make its own personality, respected by the world, and that's one thing we're very proud of.
Let me ask you from a capability standpoint, UAE has always been interested in having the very forefront of capability. The F-16s that you guys acquired were actually considered, aside from the F-22, the most advanced fighters in the world, particularly because of the radar systems and other systems you guys had on the jets. There's been a lot of discussion here. I remember talking to General Khalid many years ago about the F-35 capability, which is something the UAE has always been interested in. It looks like there may be some progress from a Washington perspective. From your perspective, why is the F-35, or why would the F-35 be an important capability for the United Arab Emirates?
First of all, I think the F-35 is not really important for the UAE capability. The F-35 is important to be in the UAE, or to be owned by the UAE, because the UAE is a strategic partner with the United States. UAE is not going to go and fight any of the United States allies. We're going to fight in the same line. We're going to defeat the same enemy. We're going to be there to support you like we did in Afghanistan. Your troops were moving under our aircrafts protecting them. And I think that is how the U.S. should look at it. Having a strategic ally is more important than a commercial deal, because we are not, like I said, enemies. United Arab Emirates does not want to be a friend of the United States. We want to be the best friend of the United States. And I think when we think of that and try to make the equation, it is a win-win situation. There is no loss in the United States giving this capability to the United Arab Emirates. When you talk about capabilities, I think you need someone like UAE to own this aircraft in this region. Because when you're building the UAE capability, you are building your own capability, and you get taking money for it. It doesn't get any better than that.
Let me ask you the question, though, that is asked sometimes in Washington about Israel's military edge. The United States is committed to maintaining that. There's always been a sense that in the event, given that Israel is going to have that capability, that an Arab country having that capability could be problematic. What's the message that you would deliver to folks in Washington on that, but as well as people in Israel on that?
Well, I don't think whoever think that UAE owning the F-35 is going to be a threat on Israel. Whoever think that really does not really have any kind of sense, because I think, look at the conflict between Palestine and Israel. It's been there for how many years? I think after the 76, there's no more military conflicts between Arabs and Israel. I don't think any of us want to go into conflict against each other. If there is a solution between Israel and Arab or Palestine, it's going to be done on the table. Because I don't think we are a threat to Israel, nor we think Israel is a threat on UAE. We have difference in solving an issue, but does not reach to a point where we will go into a war against Israel, because we understand that, like we are allies of the United States, Israel is another ally of the United States. And we have like a big brother. I don't think we're going to go and fight when there's a big brother trying to say, hey guys, don't fight.
Let me take you to a UAE perspective on Iran. Iran has been in the news. From your standpoint, as somebody who's on the other side of the Gulf from what is a very large, powerful nation that is prosecuting its own agenda in the region, what's a UAE view, and what is the message you would like to deliver to Washington about that big nation on the other side of the Persian Gulf from you, or the Gulf from you?
I think the only message I can deliver is they should listen to Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed whenever he tells them something, because he is our guidance and the wisdom comes out of that man. And we look at him and we just worship him. That's the only message I can say.
Sir, thanks very much for your time. We really appreciate it. It's always a treat to be in the UAE, and great seeing you again.
Thank you very much. Enjoy talking to you.